Welcome in, everybody. All right, let's do it. Hey, everybody, welcome. Beautiful Thursday. I'm looking forward to taking everybody through a webinar here today. Today, we're actually doing a follow-up webinar from our past webinar with Fishbowl and QuickBooks. And then let me go ahead and jump us into our next slide. And of course, the premise of today is going to be around QuickBooks and Fishbowl and how they work together. For today, just a few housekeeping rules. We're going to have the webinar recorded. Highly encourage you to go back, re-listen, forward, and share the webinar after the fact. A lot of great information will be shared today. We highly encourage you to submit as many questions as you like. We have a full host of folks on that can hopefully answer every question you have. And if not, we will make sure we follow up with you after the webinar. A closed caption is going to be provided. So if you do need that, click the little live transcript button on the bottom of your Zoom control panel. And lastly, we're going to have a survey. We believe feedback is a gift. Wonder how we can improve, make things better, and if this was actually beneficial for you. And with that said, let me go into introductions of who we have on the webinar today. I'm Craig Baker. I'm here in the middle, Senior Partner Manager here at Intuit. We, of course, have Kendrick Hare, Chief Evangelist at Fishbowl, and our amazing product specialist, Matt Bright, that will be on the webinar, bringing you all this amazing content today. Kendrick,
Greg,
I'll kick
thank you
off to
so
you.
much. Yeah, appreciate that. We're excited to be here, Matt and Craig and the Intuit team. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come back and to jump through this deep dive into Fishbowl and QuickBooks together. And quick recap on the agenda. As Craig already mentioned, there were a lot of questions that came out of our session last time talking about Fishbowl and QuickBooks. And so we're going to spend a fair bit of time really honing in on those. And from that, there were some thematic elements that we really wanted to speak to. So what you're seeing here in the agenda is really the result of those questions. Craig nailed it, that feedback is a gift. And so we wanted to be cognizant of the questions and the feedback that we received and provide some greater insight into a few of these different areas. So integration and compatibility between not just QuickBooks and Fishbowl, but also some of the other tools and systems that your clients may be exposed to, like Shopify or Amazon or different tools of that nature as well. We wanted to provide some greater clarity and insight around the new Fishbowl AI capabilities, analytics, and reporting, and generally speaking, where that fits, what it looks like, and always greater information and knowledge around how the accounting and financial management work between Fishbowl and QuickBooks. And so you have full visibility into what's happening. We'll go into some detail there first in conversation and then in the product demo around the visibility that is provided. In addition to that, functionality and customization is a very prevalent topic that came out of the last meeting and a lot of the conversations that we've had, obviously coming off of the Intuit Connect event the other week as well. We had some of these great follow-up conversations with many of you in person and want to continue to further that element too. And then we'll end with some support and training information before going into a deep dive demo. So without further ado, let's start with the integration and compatibility side. So a lot of questions came up during the last webinar and in conversations since around how Fishbowl really integrates with QuickBooks. So what are the things that are flowing back and forth? Now, we've touched on this at a high level in previous webinars, but very candidly put, the sales, the purchasing, manufacturing, inventory adjustments all happen in Fishbowl. That's the front end interface that those inventory type tasks are occurring in. But there's always a corresponding entry that flows from Fishbowl into QuickBooks. So from a balance sheet perspective, and Matt talked about last time that the front office and back office piece, and I don't want to steal his thunder, but some great insight on where and how those things fit. And from an operational workflow perspective, you can see here on the table to the right that sales information starts in Fishbowl and then flows right over into QuickBooks. The same would be true of purchasing, of manufacturing, of those inventory tasks like cycle counting or scrapping parts or whatever it may be, there's always a corresponding entry that flows over into QuickBooks to make sure that we stay in balance with what's happening in the warehouse or on the shop floor, and the proper reflection of that. Now, a little more detail here, and we'll look at this in the demo in just a moment too, but there's another layer of capability where mapping between items, as an example, or between customers or customer jobs, from an account perspective, we can define, which inventory asset account should be hit when we're receiving goods in, and what's the cost of goods sold account that we need to post to when we sell widget A versus widget B. For those who are doing manufacturing, if there's a process that involves raw goods, then a work in process step, and then finished goods, we can hit unique accounts through each of those. But the high level of this is obviously that each of the tasks and workflows that are occurring in sales, purchasing, manufacturing, inventory control all have their direct correspondent. And we have some great documentation we could share out with you available through our partner portal that just dictates out for very specific transactions exactly what you can expect to see between Fishbowl and QuickBooks. So a little more detail there on the e-commerce integration as well. That was another area where we had a lot of conversation, and here in our demo, we'll actually go through a scenario where we start with an order in Shopify. Now we work with more than just Shopify. There's lots of e-commerce solutions out there, but it's a pretty popular cart and a great example of what happens here. So whether it's eBay or Walmart or Amazon or some other as well, we've got connections in, and the data flow obviously starts with that customer on the e-commerce cart or channel that flows into an order that's created in Fishbowl. Once it makes it into Fishbowl, then we have a fulfillment process where we pick it, we pack it. Label creation for shipping is actually originating right in Fishbowl as well. So you're printing labels directly through the Fishbowl interface. And then once that shipment has gone out the door, those entries I was just referring to from an accounting standpoint, as well as the fulfillment information, are all updated, sent out. And that's when QuickBooks would be updated, as well as the shopping cart is updated at that time too. When we think through what is Fishbowl really connecting into, there are so many different connections and tools and solutions out there that folks are using. So this is not a comprehensive capture, but a good representation of the many areas where Fishbowl and QuickBooks together may also be pulling and sourcing data from other places and solutions. So whether that's shipping or CRM or EDI or accounting data like getting automated tax from Avalara, all of that fits together to provide a single solution just where you need it most. And the beauty of this is that it allows your clients who may already be using a particular tool, such as ShipStation for shipping, as an example. If that's something that is working well for them, we never want to disrupt a workflow and force change where it isn't necessary. Fishbowl and QuickBooks together are strong believers in supporting businesses in the workflows and the tools that they have, and not over clubbing or under clubbing to provide the right solution at the right time for your business. And so those integrations are a key part of providing the right solution in every scenario. And that may involve lots of integrations to make sure that everything's working harmoniously. And ultimately, from an inventory perspective, the data will flow into Fishbowl for picking and packing and shipping and manufacturing. And then that in turn continues right over so that QuickBooks is up to date on all the financial detail. Now, all of this information is only as good as the output and the decisions we can make as a result of it. So we had a lot of questions that have come through around what does the offering really look like, and how are we helping drive better outcomes for businesses? And at the end of the day, both you and your clients want to be able to make the best decisions to improve business opportunity, whether that looks like the pricing information or the number of items that you should have on hand so that you don't have a stock out or miss a sales opportunity, or ensuring that the information that flows between Fishbowl and QuickBooks is always spot on so that you can trust and validate the data. So we had a lot of questions again that came through, making sure that you're making that smart business choice. One of those is verifying the data accuracy between Fishbowl and QuickBooks. So we've got some really great tools that I'll show here in a moment that help you align what's happening in Fishbowl and what ends up in QuickBooks, so that it's really a glove at hand scenario. You don't have to wonder about what is sent over. But again, to Matt's point in our last conversation about front office and back office operations, just being able to cleanly see from Fishbowl to QuickBooks and where it's going to. Another question that we had come up often, and that really was prevalent in our last webinar together, was really around other tools that may be available. So we just talked about some of the integration capabilities, but I wanted to spend one more moment just really highlighting that the reporting that Fishbowl provides is one of the many ways that we can solve for that interface problem. Another one of those ways is our AI Insights tool, which allows for custom reporting. So every piece of information that exists in Fishbowl can actually be pulled out into reports. So we have drag and drop capability through that AI Insights to build out exactly what report you need. Taking it a step further from that build out, we also have the ability to have conversational insights with the data. So imagine having a virtual assistant with all of those answers. This AI Insights capability, Athena, is your data assistant. And this is something that both you and your clients can take advantage of and have full conversations. And one of the things that I like most about Athena as a data assistant and these insights is that you can ask a simple question, and then always the data that you have to supply that answer is right there and expandable. So at any point, you can see in this case, we're looking at a quick dashboard. Well, if I want to drill in and see what's the full data set in all of its detail on how I got to this sales information, I've got that readily available. I can jump in and then we can ask more questions from there. And it's a really powerful way for clients of yours who may not be data experts to learn and get great insight about their business, because traditional models force us into thinking in terms of fields and rows and databases, and that's not how a lot of our operators are working. A lot of our customers, they're experts in their craft, whatever that may be, building or selling widgets. But that doesn't mean they want to spend all their time in front of a computer screen. And so this is really a great enabling tool to help level the playing field and give them that powerful data access. And as it turns out over the years, we have so much more information in systems than we've ever had. That those integrations I was referencing earlier are a great example of that. We got order data in Amazon and eBay and Shopify and on Walmart and in Fishbowl and in QuickBooks, and the problem now is that the data has become siloed, and there's so much data it can be overwhelming. The Fishbowl Insights capability allows us to take all of that data, to aggregate it down, and to really show you exactly what's relevant in making the right decisions at the right time. It can be done through reports and dashboards and storyboards, as well as through this conversational tool with our digital data assistant. Now, pivoting a little bit into data as it relates to like accounting and financial management, I want to talk a little bit about how that data flow is really enhancing what QuickBooks already provides as far as great accounting tools. So from a costing perspective, one of the things that we talk about often are the capabilities that Fishbowl extends to QuickBooks users to manage not only average, but standard LIFO, FIFO, and specific or actual costing as well. So for various industries, this may be a really important thing. We work with a lot of manufacturing clients who they rely heavily on that standard cost capability. So Fishbowl brings that ability while allowing you to continue to manage business workflows with QuickBooks. Another point that I wanted to really call out, and we see this often, is there's sometimes some overlap in what can be done. Invoicing is an example of that. Payments is another example of that. And so I wanted to really just go deep for a moment on payments as a great case study here. When the question comes up on whether payments should be captured in QuickBooks or in Fishbowl, the short answer to that is either or both. But there's a little more detail to that. So to maybe paint a better picture, one of the things that we do here at Fishbowl when we work with a new client, or maybe folks that have been using the software for an extended period of time, but they're changing operations, is have a great conversation around the workflow and the things that they're trying to accomplish. So with payments as our case study example, one thing to keep in mind is where and who are the payments being taken. So if it's a sales rep taking a payment up front, or as part of the fulfillment process, they don't ship an order until it's paid for, then it might make sense to use Fishbowl to capture that payment. If, however, they're on terms and they're invoicing out, and that's really a financial function within the organization, well, there's no need to take the payment in Fishbowl. QuickBooks has a great way of doing that. Or that may be a blended approach where sometimes we take payment based on the size of the order or the products that are being sold or whatever that may be. We want to be really cognizant of meeting people where they're at, and Fishbowl and QuickBooks together have some great dynamic workflows that we can help tailor to what the business needs look like to ensure that they're not taking an out-of-band approach for something like invoicing or payments or etc. There definitely are some clearly defined lines, like if I'm manufacturing something, then Fishbowl is going to be my place for that from a business workflow perspective. And then if I'm managing my my payables, QuickBooks obviously the spot for those things. But as part of that onboarding experience and to really build a seamless integration, we really craft and tailor a solution that meets your needs. Now, that doesn't mean lots of expensive programming and coding time and things like that. It's all built in and ready to go. More a conversation around the tools to use and the features to enable, so that customers are really getting the best value. And then, another example of that, and a question that came out of our last webinar was around account balances. So, as I mentioned already, payables or receivables there too are something that would be managed in QuickBooks. That's not a Fishbowl function, but they can be viewed in Fishbowl. So we can pull that information back and forth so that the right people can see that. Again, kind of highlighting that workflow and the needs to craft the tools for your team or for your client's team to do what they want best. So kind of going down that road, there's a point where Fishbowl passes the baton from the inventory management into what's going to happen in QuickBooks. And I'm going to turn some time over to my good friend Matt here to really focus in on these next couple of slides and what QuickBooks is really focused in on to help those businesses be successful.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Kendrick. And this is where, like I said, the partnerships get really exciting, because I always like to say not all integration is created equally. Sometimes companies are just doing a summary level. They're not writing directly to objects. They're just doing journal entries. At Fishbowl, as we've just been talking about with this partnership with QuickBooks, it's a very deep two-way integration, and that's really what we consider best-in-class integration. But to the point of this slide, after Fishbowl does all of its great work, again, if you're taking raw to finished goods or whatever the user case may be, when that information then needs to get into your accounting software, again, just anchoring a little bit back to our last webinar, the point of having an optimized tech stack, of having softwares talk to each other, is making sure you only have to enter things once. So if you need to start on the Fishbowl side and then it gets to QuickBooks or vice versa, super exciting that we have that level of integration. And so, as all those transactions are happening, that inventory management, that e-commerce, that shipping, pick, pack, and ship and fulfillment is happening, kind of what we consider front office, how you generate sales, mid office, all the logistics. Mostly, back office is what QuickBooks is concerned about. Once a sale is made, once inventory is transferred, once inventory is delivered, once, you've fulfilled whatever the goods or services are that you have. Well, now you need to track, hey, was there a purchase order tied to that? Is it an accounts receivable? Do I need to go and pay a bill? And it may be bills across the entire, business, not things just specific to inventory, but, maybe you're remodeling, maybe you're having other accounts receivables that aren't directly tied to your inventory, but to the overall business. So, QuickBooks comes in for tracking everything, for the receivables and the payables. One thing we're really excited about, just like you saw many innovations with AI, we've incorporated AI feature sets into QuickBooks to help you with, making things like chasing down when someone owes you money or reminding you when you owe someone money. It's really exciting. QuickBooks now has a workflow automation in our advanced as well as in our next level we just released that we'll talk about here in a moment, but can even take these things further. So as information's coming in, from Fishbowl, if you want a reminder to be set, hey, here's a bill just came in. We need to have our person look this over, make sure everything's accurate, or if you received inventory, same thing. You want to look it over, make sure it's accurate before you actually cut that check and make that payment. And so a lot of really exciting things that can happen once that information gets from Fishbowl into QuickBooks. We can even help really automate a lot of those back office type activities, setting up reminders, and that way your team's not having to log in every day and go and run reports and figure out, hey, what do I need to review? What do I need to do with all the new information that's come in? Our system can actually take that information and then remind people, hey, go look at this bill, pay this bill, etc. You have this bill coming up you need to pay. And so again, it just helps kind of set up your day, optimize your tasks and what you have to do for the day, and make it a little bit easier, again, to get all those insights and that information out of your software. Payroll is another big thing. Everyone typically has payroll employees, whether those are contract employees, whether those are W-2 employees. A tremendous amount of things that we can do for you guys in payroll and in time tracking, keeping track of schedules and all sorts of different things, keeping track of different employee benefits, all the things, when you have really good employees, you want to retain them. And so, a lot of nice things there around payroll to help, again, that back office task to become a bit easier. And even in some of our higher end payroll offerings, things like HR help. If you're hiring an employee and are not sure if you filled out the right paperwork, if you've had to let an employee go, or they've found a new job and they're exiting the company, things like, how soon do you need to cut that check? Are you staying in compliance? Do you have the right posters and employee handbooks up? Those are all situations and type of things that we can help you out with to, again, make that back office management a bit easier, a little bit more automated, and then even have experts at your fingertips if something comes up that you're not familiar with, or if you just want to free up time and not have to deal with things, why not have your payroll done automatically versus manually? Those are all the ways that we're trying to step in and, again, streamline and free up time so you can focus on what's most important. And then, as we also kind of mentioned, payments, it's nice to have different options when a customer owes you money, different ways you can accept that payment, right from when you send the invoice with a pay-enabled invoice. But two things like, having automatic bank feeds. Instead of getting a bank statement, having to manually put in those dozens, if not hundreds of transactions each month, having those automatically feed right into QuickBooks. And then having them match back. Our software is really good about matching back transactions. And in fact, it's even smart enough, again, mentioning AI, to learn if you're having to manually match things back after 2 or 3 times, it's going to see those trends, see those patterns, and say, hey, do you want to create a rule? every time this expense comes in, do you want to handle it this particular way? And so again, that helps your reconciliation. Typically, 80, 85% will catch normally, and then as you work it through it for that last 15 or so percent, it's going to start suggesting rules. And we really want to get you as close to 100% as possible. So that, again, it automatically takes in those bank feeds and matches back all of your, the opposite side of the transaction, the debit or the credit, depending upon what the case is. So yeah, and then of course, lending marketplace, the last thing it mentions there, we've even started doing really neat things where, if you're about to, again, get a new fleet truck, if you're about to upgrade some equipment, maybe you're opening a second location and you don't quite have the capital to take all those expenses on yourself. We even have, lending right through QuickBooks now, which is kind of neat. It's just one extra safety net. If the cash flow, again, is running a little thin, or maybe you want to keep that cash flow for something else that's important that's happening with the business, we even can help out with that. And the kind of the upside of that is, since we work with you, we work with your financials, we see your invoices, we see all the great things you do for customers. It's not like going to a bank and they don't know you, and then you have to prove your financials by leveraging some of the information in QuickBooks. Our lending rates, percentage wise, are lower. Our approval rates are higher. There's a lot of flexibility it gives us to help you guys out if you ever need something like that. So yeah, a lot that QuickBooks will tackle, but again, mostly in the back office setting. Yeah, we can go ahead and move into the next slide. Oh, there we go. So one last thing we wanted to talk to you all about is, you may have heard our latest product release, and we're really excited about this. Intuit Enterprise Suite. What's really different about this versus some of our desktop or online versions is the ability for this to scale and grow. We know a lot of our customers have been with us for many, many years. And, some of our customers have mentioned that they've started looking at potentially ERPs or other things as their business continues to grow and scale. And so, Intuit Enterprise Suite, really excited about this. A lot of the reasons why sometimes business owners may feel like hitting a little bit of a ceiling with QuickBooks is because maybe they have more than one entity. Maybe you've decided to hedge your liabilities, have multiple LLCs versus just one entity, taking on your manufacturing, your wholesale, your e-commerce, etc. Where QuickBooks can present some challenges is, maybe you're having to export a lot of things to Excel for reporting when you have more than one entity. Maybe you're just a single entity, but you're wanting to drill even deeper than what our standard classes and subclasses. Maybe you're wanting to get into multi-dimensional reporting, and again, not having to export all that to Excel or other reporting tools. You're wanting to do it right inside of your QuickBooks. Well, that's where Intuit Enterprise Suite comes in. There's quite a few different things that we've added to really help you out with multi-company transactions, intercompany transactions, journal entries, again, when you have multiple companies and holdouts, combined reporting across multiple entities. There's so many things. We're really excited about this tool, and it's been getting a really good reception in the market. Quite a few customers have already switched over from our traditional set of products to this new product, and again, started to free up quite a bit of time around those key themes, multi-entity reporting and accounting, FP&A, a little bit deeper, financial planning and analysis is also built into this. We could talk about this for quite a few more minutes, but I'll just kind of wrap it up with saying, again, if you feel like you're hitting any ceilings with QuickBooks, any of our current set of financial tools, let our dear friends at Fishbowl know and they can set up a demo for this, we can kind of dive in and look at, as we mentioned earlier, what are your different you know, workflows? Where are you feeling you're hitting those ceilings? What are kind of some of the workarounds you're doing now? Have you, are you exporting a lot to Excel? Or have you entered, put other tools in your tech stack? And can we start to, again, with a tool like this, bring you back to just a handful of tools? Not that using multiple tools is a bad thing, but we want to make sure, as we've been talking about through this whole webinar, that you only enter data once, that all of your tools talk to each other, they share data, and they scale with you. If your business doubles in size, we don't want you to feel like you've outgrown your current set of tools. We can continue to grow with you. So if you're hitting any of those ceilings, just know we have a great new product here to help as businesses we've been working with. I've been with the business for 23 years, so I've seen this a number of times where businesses continue to ratchet up year over year, and they get to the point where they need a little bit more broader set of tools, and we're really excited about this new product. So that's all I'll say there, but we'll turn it back over to you, Kendrick, and let you continue on.
Oh, Matt, thank you so much. Always appreciate your insight, and this is a great time to call out the amazing product offering for Intuit Enterprise Suite. It feels like Intuit just continues to raise that bar on providing really a holistic solution for everything that businesses need, and not just small business, but mid-market opportunities. Growing enterprises can leverage so many of these tools. For those who are product-based businesses, that's also where Fishbowl loves to jump in and help support that journey and that story for those that are growing. We've got a great integration in with the Intuit Enterprise Suite to continue in some of those other things that we've been looking at. I want to pivot now for just a moment into our product demo and some of those things. But before I do that, we really just need to hit on the software is one half of the equation, and the other half of that is making sure that you are supported in all that you do and that your clients have the things that they need. So while the product is there, and as we've just talked about a little bit, and we'll see here in just a moment in the demo, we really need to deliver on the solution, but also in making sure that everything that the clients need comes together. So we have some great tools and some scalability. I think that's really the theme here is with IES and with Fishbowl together. We're allowing companies to scale in and to improve their abilities and automate workflows and understand data and move more rapidly and efficiently than they've ever been able to do in the past. With AI-driven tools, with better reporting, with tighter coupling of integrations, so that we're never double entering data. It's flowing from one point to the next, and everything's staying there. And then coupled with that, we have a phenomenal implementation and support team. And so we had some questions that came out of the last webinar, and that continually people are asking. And I'd make an open invitation that if you're wondering what makes Fishbowl different from a support perspective, pick up the phone, call the 800 number, and you're going to be within minutes talking to someone who can answer your question in a relevant way. Not just a triage, but actually getting to the teams that have the answers that your clients may need. That's as important as having the tools to get the job done is support and training to ensure that you can be effective when there is a question or a concern. So with that, let's jump over, and we'll switch gears now into the product demo, and I'm excited to show you Fishbowl Drive, our Shopify integration, and QuickBooks is kind of a quick snapshot to how this all flows through. All right, let's jump into the demo. I'm so very excited for the opportunity to show you Fishbowl, and there are so many things that we need to get through here. We're going to start with what may be the world's fastest run through of Fishbowl's capabilities. So at a glance over here on the left-hand side, you can see the areas
where Fishbowl is focused in on, and we've talked already about where Fishbowl and QuickBooks come together, but in a little more detail. Obviously, the items and the inventory information are going to reside here on the Fishbowl side as part of that back office operation. The sales orders are going to come through and flow through Fishbowl, as well as the picking, the shipping, and the customer management, pricing information. In addition to this, as we've already talked about again, we have the connection over to the e-commerce or omni-channel connections. As an example of that, one of the things that we'll jump to is Shopify. So I have some orders here that are in Shopify that's connected here back to Fishbowl, and in just a moment, we'll work through that process. Additionally, to the sales workflow, purchasing is also going to be based on the Fishbowl side. So here's an example of a purchase order that I would raise and send out to my vendors to get stock in. I won't go too far down the road on this, but we've got some great automated tools that help out on knowing what to purchase, when you should purchase that, reorder points on items, and etc. Some great forecasting and detail there, and that flows into the receiving workflow. Clearly, accounting is an important element to this, and we'll spend a few more moments on this as well. And then when we get into commerce, there's this whole other conversation that we could take hours and hours or maybe even weeks talking about, where we need to understand the connections out to the different channels. So from a connectivity standpoint, as I mentioned already, we're connected in with Shopify, but in addition to that, whether you're working through eBay or Amazon or Walmart or Shopify or so many other places, and then the detail that flows back and forth. So lots of settings and options that can be configured in how we manage the information and flow it back and forth between the various carts. There's so many more details here that I'd love to get into, like the ability to do listing templates and the information that shows, and what orders come through. And here's some examples of the orders themselves and whether they've been paid, what status they may be in, the intermediary step that helps flow things from Shopify ultimately into QuickBooks, and then definitely QuickBooks itself as part of this workflow. And at the end of the day, the accounts receivable, the accounts payable, and everything that goes into payroll and payments and banking all culminates into clearly what's on QuickBooks. So with that kind of overview in pieces that come together, I want to spend just a moment talking about visibility. So all of this is fine and well when we think through our sales, when we think through our materials, but another pivotal piece of that are the insights that are necessary to really operate a well-run business. And so I'll jump now to our Fishbowl AI Insights. You can see some examples of insights that are provided and detail about the business, as well as the Athena chatbot to help in understanding and being able to have conversational detail. So some quick sample questions on supply chain of the revenue by growth by month, the top 10 orders by revenue, total sales for the year, and this list goes on and on and on. If you can think it, we can go through and provide detailed information, provide reports, and create the information that you need in order to operate. Now, I know we need to be respectful of time, so I'm going to jump over here to Shopify once more, and we'll start this workflow coming through. We've got an order that's been placed online. So e-commerce has become so popular, especially over the last 5 to 8 years. Everybody goes online to buy things, whether that's a Shopify site or Amazon or multiple, and that order needs to flow in so that it can be fulfilled. So that's the first step that we'll go through, is when an order is placed on a shopping cart site like Shopify, and then it pops over here into Fishbowl as a sales order. So we can see that sales order now. I'll go ahead and load that up, see that I have stock available. And from this point, I can go through and I can fulfill the order. So I start by picking. Picking is a task that can either be completed here on a workstation on a computer, or commonly We also see customers who are fulfilling orders or picking these orders with handheld scanning devices. And Fishbowl has some great tools to help with knowing what to scan and where to go, routing through the warehouse for the most efficiency, grouping orders together, etc. The short version of this, though, is that I go out and I gather up the items. I validate that I'm getting the right things. If the items have tracking information like lot code, serial number, expiry dates, etc., all of that would be captured here as part of that workflow as well. So I know what I'm getting, where I'm getting it from, and that picks the order. Once the order has been picked, we can jump into shipping. And when we go to ship the order, there's some great tools here available. Now, a lot of e-commerce orders are shipped out the door. If forever there's a scenario that they're doing a will call or a pickup, that may be of use too, so we can support whatever those workflows may be. So this one, if it's marked as a will call, we just go ahead and run it through. If it's not, we can ship it through and print labels right from Fishbowl as well. So I can verify the address. We want to make sure we're sending it to a verified address. Once we verify that address, it's as easy as purchasing a label. During the label configuration, we can get different rates. You can also see other settings and options if I need to flag that the order contains alcohol or it needs dry ice or things of that nature. On the right panel, the carriers that I've configured, in this case, U.S. Postal Service, the UPS, and FedEx are all available with their various services and the rates associated to those. So I can select whichever rate I may want to work through and purchase a shipping label. All of that leads into a shipping label that looks like this. So I can jump over, print that label out, apply it to my package, and send it along the way. As well, once I've grabbed that label, it's going to update Shopify with the tracking number, or when I say Shopify, the e-commerce cart, whatever that may be. And if I don't want to print a label, if again, we're going back to that will call scenario, instead of selecting my purchase label, I just select fulfill. That indicates that the order is complete. And from this point, I can send it along to QuickBooks. Now that can happen in an automated fashion, or for today's purposes, we'll go through and we'll look at some of the details that connect the dots there from Fishbowl to QuickBooks. We talked earlier a little bit about how the information exchange occurs from the sales side, pushing customers and sales orders into QuickBooks. On the purchasing side, purchase orders and bills flowing over, and then inventory adjustments for parts or cycle counting, etc. All of those are available. And when I jump into accounting, one other piece to be mindful of is my chart of accounts. And so I have the ability to see a mapping back. Now, Fishbowl's not maintaining the chart of accounts. That's QuickBooks information, but it's being exposed here so I can see my balance and details associated with the various chart of accounts and all of the entries that have gone through, whether or not they have been posted. So I've got a full mapping of the adjustments that are occurring for my adjustments accounts or my sales retail account and the orders associated with those. Let's look at it through another lens as well. Over here on our QuickBooks connection, I can show you the account mapping. Now, when you first connect Fishbowl and QuickBooks together, there's a mapping process that you go through here. And this allows you to define when something happens in Fishbowl where it should land on the QuickBooks side. In addition to this account mapping, you also have the capability of we have the capability there of mapping at the individual item level as well. So there may be multiple accounts that are being hit. This screen on the left side, just by way of explanation, allows you to filter down specific types of accounts when mapping. So if I'm not sure about holding, I can jump in here and filter down through. Also, I don't have to specify an account. If for whatever reason I elect not to map a certain account, that's just fine. Just know that if you ever go into using that account, before you can export the data, you will need to come back and map. But pretty straightforward and simple as far as mapping those over. Once that has been done, and then we see the things that need to be sent over. There's an export function that we can call up. I'll go ahead and select that export. That queues up that information flowing over to QuickBooks. And then down here at the bottom, we can see everything that was posted during a given export. So there's a record and a ledger of that. In addition to this posting, I'm going to jump over and show you the invoice data that is available for this sales order too. So I see here that I have orders that are flowing, and that order information looks like we just finished up on that QuickBooks post. That order information shows all the things that we would have seen on the sales order. But in addition to that, I also have this transactions tab. And here in the transactions tab, I can see the debits and credits associated with every entry that are occurring. This is going to correspond exactly with what I see over in QuickBooks, which point of fact, back here on the general tab, I can jump to this QBO link and it's going to load that invoice for me right here in QuickBooks. So just like I had in Fishbowl, so we kind of complete the circle or the flow of data, starting in our e-commerce channel, in this case, Shopify, moving into Fishbowl, where we pick it, we pack it, we generate a label, we ship it, and then we post over to QuickBooks with that invoice data, kind of rounding out that entire workflow. And there's so much more detail that we can go into, obviously in the interest of time. Hopefully this gives you some better insight as to how Fishbowl, QuickBooks, Shopify, and many other tools your clients may use can come together to create a solid front office and back office solution, provide all the tools they need to manage what's actually happening in their business. With that, we'll jump over to some questions. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Kendrick. Great overview on the QuickBooks Fishbowl integration piece of it. There is several questions in the queue that we currently have. One thing, if we can cover, can you share a little bit more around the insights that we have the AI into Fishbowl? Like there's a lot of questions around the functionality. How do people get that turned on in their Fishbowl apps?
Yeah, great question, Craig. So the Insights capability is a plugin that's available. So in the plugin manager of Fishbowl, you jump over, select Fishbowl AI Insights, that'll add in for all new accounts that are coming. That's actually going to be included as they get started with Fishbowl. So if you have a new client as they onboard, that'll be bundled in. If they're an existing client that they've been with Fishbowl for some period of time, they just need to go add that plugin. I will mention real quick as well that there are several tiers associated with the amount of data that they want to pull back, and we can provide a full demo of what the tiers and those steps look like based on the information that they want to see coming through. But everyone should have access to that Fishbowl AI Insights. We have a tier 0 that's a kind of a baseline included for everyone, and then some upgrade path opportunities if they need to pull additional data in or some other capabilities that are there. But yeah, short version of that is grab the plugin.
Perfect. Thanks. Another question. I know most of the folks on the webinar today do this, but shipping, any best practices around integrating Fishbowl with FedEx, UPS, similar shipping providers? Is there a site that people can go to for that?
Yeah, so we, as you saw in the demo, we actually embed that capability directly in Fishbowl as one version of that. So there's no additional tool or piece you have to get that's native functionality as part of what we offer. Again, there's a plugin that supports that for our advanced product called Ship Express. No charge there. It's just another thing to add in, tick the box and enable that. If you'd like to use an alternate shipping provider, we actually have direct connections in with Ship Manager and WorldShip, the FedEx and UPS tools, and can connect in to them as well through an API. Or another alternative there that I mentioned earlier in today's call, if you've got a client who's using a tool like ShipStation, we've got plugins and connections to work to those as well, so we don't disrupt that flow if they want to stay with whatever shipping provider they're using right now.
Great, thank you. Multiple POs onto one invoice. Can Fishbowl receive multiple POs into one invoice?
Yeah, so there are a few different ways to go about doing that. So we see often, and it seemed like with the supply chain management that having multiple POs out there is very common. We can do blanket POs, so you can actually do different issue dates associated with those. So if you wanted to write portions of a PO that ultimately come back into an invoice, or from a customer statement perspective, if you've got POs coming in, on the invoicing side of that, that's really where we kind of start bridging the conversation into managing those POs and the payables there on the QuickBooks side. So in Fishbowl, you're not going to receive payment, or excuse me, send payment out. Those invoices will come through. You'll reconcile the PO, and then the corresponding invoices that your vendors are sending, you're actually going to manage that in the QuickBooks side.
Great.
Matt, I don't
Thank
know
you.
if there's any additional insight you want to provide there on the invoicing out and entering to get those bills paid.
No, I think for the scenario that was presented, that covers it pretty well. You know, like I said, just the additional things that you can do once those get into QuickBooks, like we were saying during the demo, is if you have workflow automation set up, so those automatically need to get looked over, approved by someone before you know, go ahead and pay the bill for the expense. You know, that's where some workflow automations on the financial side of the house, the back office side of the house could kick in and make things a bit easier. But yeah, it's, you know, Fishbowl is going to primarily take those in, ingest those, and then send them over to us, and then we can, you know, in the case of a PO, pay the bill through QuickBooks.
Great call out.
On the Fishbowl QuickBooks integration piece, can you share a little bit more about how, or if it does, how QuickBooks handles partially completed orders?
Yeah, great call out there. So on both the sales side and the purchasing side, Fishbowl is only going to send what actually got fulfilled. There may be a scenario, if we think through an online order that comes in with 10 widgets that are being purchased by a customer, maybe only 7 of those are available right now today. You have a choice during the picking phase to only pick completely fulfillable. So that's kind of the first step in that. But in the event that you want to pick partial and ship out what you've got, maybe there's a long lead time on some of the other things. We see often with manufacturers who they may have some items available and then others need to be constructed before they can send them out. The way that we manage that is the sales order starts with the Fishbowl piece. The invoice that posts over to QuickBooks is only going to include the items that are actually fulfilled. So in this scenario, we'd have 7 of the 10 widgets that would post over. And then at a later date, maybe 3 days from now, I finished building the other things that need to go out to the customer. We send another invoice, and it's the same sales order number. And then if you're using, there's an option in Fishbowl that can correlate sales order number to QuickBooks invoice number for quick and easy reference. We just put a -1, -2, -3 for as many subsequent shipments that may be going along as well. This is really where that earlier conversation around what the invoice looks like and where it comes from is very relevant, because if you want to invoice for everything and only have shipped part of it, you may want to invoice that out of Fishbowl. If you want to invoice only the things that went out, then that's a great way to invoice from QuickBooks, and we can help tailor those workflows to your specific business need or your client's needs.
Perfect. Thanks, Kendrick. A lot of questions here around getting the most out of QuickBooks and Fishbowl, more the Fishbowl side of it, for folks who need either some help with, getting better functionality out of Fishbowl, getting some support. Where do you recommend the audience to go to for additional work on Fishbowl?
Yeah, that's a great point. So one of the things that we see all the time is that when someone first gets Fishbowl, they add, they're using QuickBooks and their inventory needs exceed what they can do in QuickBooks alone. So they add Fishbowl into the mix, and it solves a set of business problems for them. Speaking to Matt's reference in back office and front office, we really bring a lot of front office capabilities. But one of the pieces that we love to talk to customers about is the problems that we solve for in month 1 or year 1 with Fishbowl are different because your business grows and evolves, the market changes, the data set that you've got, those evolve. So we encourage you to continually reach out and take advantage of the tools that are available. We see a lot of companies that are great at doing that, continually adopting, quick workflow on that would look like, maybe I don't really manage my inventory, and then the next graduation of that, I have reorder points put in, and then the next graduation of that, I'm using Fishbowl's MRP to help calculate what those reorder points look like, and the auto PO tools and the forecasting. It's just one step builds on the next to bring a lot more functionality. And if you're wondering at this point, well, how do I do that? It all starts with having a conversation with the client's account manager. So if you are a Fishbowl customer, you have an account manager. If you're referring over for or consulting with a customer, know that they have a dedicated person here at Fishbowl who can help guide them through that path, get them the training information that they need so they can grow into those. And some common areas to think about would be integrations, like we talked about. If they're manually entering data, we can automate that. Picking process, if they're not using barcode scanning, it's ready and available for them. There's a better way for accuracy and efficiency. If they're not using the auto PO tools, if they're not using AI insights to generate orders and forecasting, those are all some great examples of there's more that Fishbowl can provide to help bring value. So give us a call, schedule a call on the screen here. You can see how to schedule information. We're happy to get you or your client aligned with the right individual to have to take those next steps.
Perfect. Kendrick, for AI Insight, can you share when that launch officially occurs at Fishbowl?
Yeah, so we've been kind of doing a rolling launch. It's actually available now for those who want to jump in, early adopters, and then that'll be a full-blown press out on the 12th. So I think that's next week and officially goes live.
Exciting.
And that, to clarify, is the connection, everything's been there for years, but we've got an update coming to the plugin, and you'll see that on the 12th.
Perfect. Let's see what else. Plugin, is there a place where folks can go through to see all the plugins that are available, like Shopify, different sections?
Absolutely. So lots of places you can find that. One, directly within Fishbowl, there's the plugin manager. Another would be on our website, our help documentation. We have a full list of all of the plugins that are there that you can connect into and see as well. Or you can reach out to your account manager. They can provide documentation too.
Perfect. Anything else? I think we're going to get close to wrapping up here.
I would like to add, if we did not get to your specific question, we do have the list of questions and we'll be reaching out after the webinar. I would allow us until tomorrow to make sure that we reach out to everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Casey.
Thank
so
you.
many questions flying in, like one after the other. Hard to go through all of them and summarize them.
And we sure appreciate your time and willingness to be with us today. Thanks to our partners at Intuit for hosting this webinar and continuing to help promote improving business.
Perfect. Well, with that said, I'll get us concluded. Thanks for everybody for jumping in. As Kendrick said, this partnership and relationship we have between Intuit and Fishbowl specifically has been really great to see our customers who need inventory, a deeper dive into that. A lot of success happening between the collaboration with us together. Look forward to an email coming out with you guys with the recording. The deck will come out, and as Casey mentioned, she'll be following up with everybody's questions that you have, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the next. Hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks all.